Добрый день.
Good afternoon.
Так, слышно? Ага, вот так лучше.
Can you hear me well?
Добрый день, уважаемые участники секции.
Dear guests,
У нас сегодня принимают участие и в формате, и
today we have participants here and also online.
из названия, как вы понимаете, вопрос не самый простой.
As you understand, the topic is not very easy today, and we discussed it for a long time. It's about certification, and nowadays it's
Российского рынка
when companies leave the Russian
сертификацию систем менеджмента качества стала серьезной проблемой. Также ушли иностранные предприятия, которые подтвердили.
QMS is one problem, and certain suppliers that left the market is another one. I realized that it's a challenge
Какие возможны пути решения. Ну и
that we have to face, and today we're going to discuss the possible solutions for this challenge. I know that we have to have our compliance confirmed, we have to have our goods and products certified. And it's important that the product actually conforms to the values and properties that are stated in the compliance certificate. It's a challenging question to answer. There is a lot of legal framework involved. I know that there is a voluntary certification involved.
Присутствует
Today we have a number of distinguished experts.
Севницкий,
Mr. Ignitsky,
директор Центра
director of the Center of Standardization and Metrology, named after Muradshin in the Republic of Bashkortostan.
Башкортостан, Чайка Иван Иванович,
Ivan Chaika, counselor of the CEO of the Russian Register of the Academy of Quality Issues of Russia, and the Technical Committee 176,
управление по качеству
head of quality of the Executive Center
нефтехимической продукции
of Oil, Chemical Products and Environment at Ufa Orgsynthers Public Joint Stock Company. Alexey Ivanov is online, Deputy CEO of Russian Institute for Standardization. I am Denis Mironov, CEO of Russian Institute of Standardization.
Хочу передать слово
I'm giving the floor
Владимировичу,
to Alexey.
осветит вопрос, каким образом
Can you please share how standardization is arranged for enterprises and what opportunities it opens for anti-sanction solutions?
как она применяется, насколько стандартизация.
How standardization is used and if it is necessary for enterprises. So please have the floor. Thank you very much.
Поприветствовать всех участников
I'm happy to greet all the participants of the International Business Week. Standardization and compliance conformance,
связаны непосредственно.
these are two interacting components. In my report, I would like to tell you a little bit about the tendencies and trends of standardization
Бизнесом
and how the enterprises can rely on that. First of all, I would like to begin with the legal framework.
в современном периоде достаточно много изменений.
Today, we have to change a lot of things drastically.
Развитие
We
стандартизации
need to change the roadmap that was developed in the 2027 perspective.
Система стандартизации
There is a strategy of development.
с индикаторами, с направлениями,
We have to take a look at it with a point of view of
они
values, readings, results, performance.
в первую очередь это вовлеченность бизнеса,
First of all, we need to keep the business involved in the standardization.
те,
Business is increasingly understanding
которые
of why they should undergo standardization, why they should have their products quality confirmed.
средние сроки
And the interaction between the business and the standardization is getting more and more efficient.
растет. И если посмотреть на структуру
If you
самой
take a look at the roadmap of standardization development,
непосредственно
you can see that it focuses
бизнеса,
on involvement of business into standardization.
совершенствование нормативного поля.
We need to improve the legal framework, improve the procedures. We need to make standardization more popular. We need to spread the word about it.
Национальная система стандартизации
We
и
need to introduce national systems and improve them.
участников.
We need to
Итак, какие основные
gather businesses around this framework.
в течение текущего
What we adopted throughout the year.
можно сегодня говорить? В первую очередь,
First of all,
подробнее, это два новых вида
we have two new types of standardization documents. These are technical conditions
условия и как новое
and
и
technical requirements.
это одно направление.
Also, you can have your product registered with the foundation.
Это развитие
The second
информационных технологий.
is that we develop informational technologies and digitalize the standardization process.
В законе у нас есть
Finally, the federal law on standardization describes the wide toolkit for the future development of standardization for businesses.
которого будет
And it will give the foundation that digital transformation of the system will rely on later.
помимо указанных на слайде
So, moreover, We also, if you register in this standard, we add some technical specifications and standards.
Почему это важно?
Why is it important?
Видов документов. У нас выстраивается определенная
These documents make a level of priorities of the instruments that we use,
для того,
that business uses,
проводить те или иные
to make some decisions, to hold standards for different problems.
понимаем о том, что
When we speak about standardization, we
это само
say about the standards that company uses and including them into other documents.
действующим национальным стандартам, принципам стандартизации, установленным законом, но
But these documents are used in some volunteer certification,
при этом мы понимаем то, что речь идет не об отраслевом,
and we understand that we are not only speaking about the sphere, but the organization.
неполном консенсусе технического комитета по формированию тех или иных требований. Далее апробация требований.
Then we process these standards with national standards.
В системах сертификации, также в закупках, далее национальный стандарт, когда мы говорим уже о консенсусе на национальном уровне, и межгосударственные стандарты, когда
So to introduce a standard, it takes a few steps. First of all, we need to come to a uniform approach to the standard. Second of all, we need to put down the steps and put down the parameters that the product should conform to during the standardization process. We need to establish terms. We need to establish the scope of supply and the intended use.
Итак, с точки зрения вовлеченности
From the point of view of involvement,
направления,
business introduced another direction that allows us to take into consideration the parameters that business values.
утвержден соответствующий порядок, который
We
накопил на себя
adopted a procedure
регистрация
that has now been legally admitted.
основы,
And you can have your product certified according to this procedure on a voluntary basis.
то, что стандарты,
I need to stress
по которым
that standards under which the expertise was carried out is included into the national standard.
прекращаются сроки,
This allows to cut the time spent on expertise.
проходило
These standards normally are based on the organization's standards or on technical requirements. So where are we heading?
себя как эффективным.
This procedure that we adopted is considered effective, and we would like to make it even more simple.
Первый момент, на который сегодня стоит
This is the first and foremost
обращение изменений, но проходит сейчас
in
обсуждение.
this transformation process.
Правила
Second of all,
изменений, соответствующие основополагающие
we adjusted the expertise to make it effective, to make it relevant, to make it up-to-date and uniform.
свойства, важные для
Another property
этого подхода, важные
of this approach that the business would appreciate
для подтверждения соответствия.
is that if you have your products confirmed,
В случае
you
неприменения
need
стандартов
to
из
stick to
перечня
the international standards.
инновационной, либо ввиду отсутствия соответствующих
And if your product is innovative and if it has no equivalent,
регистрация в фонде, это еще одно
you can opt for a special standardization for this kind of product.
подтверждение соответствия, являются требованиями не ниже, чем требования
And the
соответствия
conformance is admitted for the product if its properties, if its characteristics are as good as it is indicated in the legal document.
вид документов также
The
принципиально.
other type of the documents that will be needed for innovative products is the technical specification or report.
Участников, членов
Only 2/3 of the technical committee should vote for the adoption of such a document. It is an interesting document to test. It is an interesting procedure to test. You can see the procedure on the screen. This experience actually correlates with the experience of different international platforms that are used for developing of such documents on innovative products. Sometimes innovative products have a limited term of use, and they may have different peculiarities. So the documents should consider that as well. So what are the features of the national standardization systems? First of all, they can be applied to the procurement system under 44 Federal Law and under Federal Law 223. 60% of state procurement are carried out via documents entered into the national standardization system. And this led to us developing a set of guidelines for standardization of such procurements. Also, the standardization community is searching for a way to reach the uniformity when referring to the national standards, and it's another interesting idea to think of how this legal framework should be created and how this legal document should be drawn. It's important to make this legal framework relevant in comparison to the business speeds and workflows. It's important to gain the uniformity in the approach to development of standards, because this is the foundation for technical requirements according to which enterprises will manufacture their goods accordingly and on which the executive authorities will rely on.
Стандартизация с точки зрения обеспечения вопроса подтверждения соответствия является вопросом.
If it is important to have the goods quality confirmed, it is important to refer to the relevant technical regulations. The technical regulations of the Russian Federation are comprised with around 9,000 documents. In the previous reported period, we may say that we are forming documents that will help outline the procedure for the product standardization. This year, we abandoned following the decree number 982 and switched to the decree 2425. That's why we introduced the testing standards.
Документов и позволило эффективнее организовать работу.
Thanks to that, we made the work of labs more efficient.
Когда мы говорим о
When we are speaking about the standards, we need to understand that it's a massive amount of documents. They have different requirements, they had different test methods, different procedures. So we have around 7,000 documents that outline standardization. We have national standards, we have international standards, and it's challenging to digitalize them. Therefore, one of the top priorities for us is to turn the documents into the machine reading format. We turn them into an XML format, and we are trying to make these documents machine-friendly to upload them online. Another challenging idea is we have to manage digital documents. We need to categorize them.
Сейчас разрабатывается. И еще одно направление, так называемое.
Another area where we are working is a smart standard. It is a standard for technical industries. It is a promising initiative,
Соответствующих сервисов, как
and it will take us introducing a system to manage the standardization documents.
направление остановиться.
I would like to go into details here. I would like to say that, in fact,
Есть два фактически принципа.
standards may have two absolutely different users, people and systems.
Интерпретируется и используется.
Therefore, some standards can be interpreted in various ways.
Выходит новый документ.
We can see that a document is released, we analyze it, we adjust something if it's needed in order to make it usable.
Информационные системы сами по себе являются,
Our information systems
поэтому
are also users of standards,
возможность использования
and the standard wording and form should be both friendly and equally understandable for human users and machine users. The documents should be interpretation friendly and categorization friendly,
ну и для
leaving alone that they should be relevant and up to date.
ряд дополнительных возможностей
So we see it as a range of new opportunities.
изучить в этой части международный опыт, то
If we share some international experience,
для документов
we see that internationally such
группы, соответственно,
standards are a point of consideration for working groups.
на слайде представлено, как
These standards are divided into 4 groups,
учитывается в
and documents can be categorized accordingly. For each group, there is a legal framework and the procedure of usage.
по уровню мы переходим
That's why we understand
назвать электронной бумагой, то есть
that there are documents that can be used in a soft form, there are documents that can be used in a hard form,
данные
according to their content, according to their format.
механизмами обратной связи.
But more relevant, more up-to-date documents give more space for working, such as feedback or
Информационного обмена и
online adjustment.
повышения качества передачи
If we introduce this new format of standardization documents, it will give us a shorter clearance procedure.
вещь. Дело в том, что бизнес всегда ценит
The point is that business values if they have
стандартов
quick and easy, simple toolkits.
и условием для вовлеченности в эти работы.
They want to have conditions created for them to stay involved.
Для
They want to see standardization as something useful, and we want to make it useful for every party engaged. We want these tools to be usable and applicable. We want business to be involved into standardization.
трансформации и стандартизации,
Digital transformation of standardization
трансформации Федерального информационного фонда стандартов,
is a priority of the national scale.
связи применения стандартов,
There is a Federal Information Foundation of Standard introduced. There are digital services. There is monitoring.
И в заключение я хотел обратить внимание на
To
то,
wrap it up,
что в настоящий момент уже утверждена программа национальной
I would like to say that we have already worked out a plan for the next year.
стандартизации.
We will focus on the list of challenges that is given on the slide. One of the standardization principles is an open structure. So if you have any interest in that, please feel free to visit our website and familiarize yourself with the issues that we are going to discuss. We are going to publish the terms within which we are going to discuss the above-mentioned issues, so you can easily reach out to the technical committees and take part in the process yourself. So all these documents are subject to public discussion. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free. I'll be ready to answer them. Thank you very much.
Dear participants, do you have any questions to the speaker? Alexei has extensively told us about the program of national standardization, its evolution, the evolution of digital transformation from the point of view of documents and technical requirements. Well, you have things to look at, you have things, you have bodies to apply, and it's good to mention that both national and municipal purchases will set their own requirements to the provided services and products, but standardization is actually the mechanism which has to prove or show or confirm the correspondence of a service or of products to the technical regulation or standard. Certainly, the confirmation of this correspondence is necessary for the system of quality management that SMK has come to us from our foreign colleagues. And the certificates were issued by foreign companies, and the part of our companies have faced this problem when these foreign suppliers have left. And here the Center of Standardization and Metrology of the Bashkortostan Republic has come and implemented the pilot project. And in more detail, Sergei Sivnitsky, the director of Muradchin Center for Certification and Metrology, will tell you. Good day, dear participants of the section. In the previous presentation, it was said in much detail what happens in standardization. It's one of the major elements of the quality system and structure. I will not tell you in detail what's happening in the last years in the evaluation of correspondence. I will only dwell on the topic which has faced major changes this year. The topic is the system of quality management. I believe that all the participants who are here in our room have faced this issue. And my question to you, can you briefly make a definition of QMS? What is it? Coordinated work. Okay, thank you. Any other options? Okay, I'm not going to torture you. I, as an advanced user of internet, when preparing my report, I decided to check what internet can offer. And as a potential customer, I just, have written who can assist me to develop the quality management system. And I have found 5 leading companies in this area. So this is the slide with 4 definitions which I've found at the sites of these companies. The quality management system is well, the interconnected elements for management of organization applying to the quality. I have brought them to you to show how important is the approach and what is the center of this definition and what is the process of quality management system application, introduction is in the center of it. So if you look at these definitions, then the key element we can find here is that the system of quality management is the system of company management, in fact. And currently, when you talk to the management of companies, what is quality management system, in many cases, we come to the fact that, well, this system is necessary for tender participation in a tender, what this procedure can provide. Very often, managers do not know about it, and implementing the quality management system without understanding of the profit which the standards of quality management system can give you, instead of getting great benefit after its implementation, when when the management, the personnel doesn't have the goals set up, this is just the waste of the company resources. So here is the history, how we started with QMS. The next speaker will perhaps speak in more details about this system, because Ivan was involved in implementation of this system in this country. When we started developing it, the bodies were set up on the basis of well, the centers of management systems have been set up over the country. And the reform, which was carried out after adoption of the law on the quality management systems, it allowed to get these bodies out of the governmental system, and we had to reduce them. Well, the people have left. Private companies appeared, and in the beginning, it was just the employees of the companies, of the centers of management systems. Well, in the last year in St. Petersburg at the forum, there were figures brought up, and our colleagues looked at them, saying that the system of voluntary certification, well, there are over 250 bodies which are involved in certification, and 250 systems. Each of them has its own body, and there are over 500 organizations which are sort of involved in this work. And how do we sort it out? When I was preparing my presentation, I got it that here at the streets, central streets of Ufa city, we had some posters. Well, entering the quality management organizations, you become a member of this system. You know, but the entrance fee is rather expensive. So all in all, it takes some 45,000 rubles, and then you need a certificate which adds to this cost. And what is there on this market in Russia, in the Russian Federation? There is some competition, there is some understanding, but the figures and the approaches, they tell for themselves. And to sell the certificates of competencies, you do not need these competencies, in fact. And there are some people who have gone from these centers. Formerly, they started flowing to the places where they were needed, and the companies who understood that this is a part of the management system and it is something which brings you a real effect. They started working with the foreign systems, and there were no technical barriers here in Russia, and they do not exist now either. And these people could find out in their companies various certificates, DQS, two certs, IAF, and a lot of systems which directly or indirectly via various operators have opened certain daughter companies here in Russia and started offering certification. 2 points here which assisted the applying of these companies to these systems. In the beginning, I want to say that I knew these people who got out of the centers and started working for these systems. I asked them what is the difference. They say, well, just approach is different. When the audit is done by our company, certification company, centers of certification, most of the companies, well, in the comments, as a result of the audit, they try to influence the committee. Please remove these comments, etc., etc. When you are working with a foreign system, then certification system, nobody is trying to influence these bodies and persuading them to eliminate the comments. Well, you know, this is the difference. People here, these are the traditions existing here in Russia. What's expensive works better. Well, for these systems, there were no obstacles, as I mentioned, and one of the arguments which worked for bringing into the Russian market of the systems was actually, well, export-focused companies. They were interested in this, and some of them were helped by the fact, but in most cases it was not more than just an argument. And another thing which also assisted this process was the process of appearance of the standards. Normally, a new standard or translation of this standard was made in 2 or 3 years, sometimes 5 years, not earlier. So it created a limitation, in fact, and possibly in a certain moment, we can say that we have achieved certain stability on this market, and the companies found out the systems for themselves which were useful for them, and those who just acquired the certificate for participation in a tender, they continue this practice. But then there came the 24th of February, and it was a very unexpected thing. And when we say the world has gone crazy, doesn't mean anything, so it was reflected in sanctions. On the 13th of May of this year, on the site of the International Forum on Accreditation, an official statement was placed regarding Ukraine. Briefly, this statement can be explained as follows. IAF called all the participants to join the sanctions against Russia in favor of Russia and Belarus, in favor of Ukraine. And this statement was published on the websites of certain systems who decided to stop these certification processes based on the introduced sanctions. DNW, TÜV, and other bureaus have joined these sanctions. If we take away this emotional part, because the contracts with companies are not political things and are not emotional things, though these sanctions have eliminated all the activities which have been formed before these sanctions, and the Russian Federation did not introduce any mirroring sanctions, but there are certain unique moments we have noticed. The Veritas Bureau statement here, sanctions against Russia and Belarus, the statement of IQNet, Veritas Bureau. Today, Veritas Bureau has reduced its business secretariat for operating in Russia in the field of ship construction, aeronautics, and, well, actually, this bureau had the access to these companies. Well, and today we are facing an unprecedented situation when here in Russia we do not have a system. Getting this system from under the state regulation, we have formed an uncontrolled market from a big number of uncontrolled systems which have not formed any trust with the potential customers. I'm not going to comment on their history, but the biggest problem is that the companies which in fact needed this certification, which have foreign contracts by now, and in the framework of these contracts, there was a need to confirm the quality management system, mostly American system. So they came to the situation when this inability to get this confirmation, this certification threats fulfillment of their contracts, and due to the situation which is there, it is very, very important on the market of voluntary certification of services. We have to establish a certain order which has to be clear and transparent for all the Russian participants and QMS bodies, and they have to publish in one single register the results of their operation. And here it should be done that our national certification system is recognized over the world, and the removing of technical barriers should be also followed by the fact that the certification here in Russia is recognized over the world, and the companies do not need to go over the world finding the necessary certification system. which is often cannot be solved. Over the world, the systems of certification are tackled by the accreditation or standardization bodies. Here, the accreditation body is responsible for the obligatory certification, and in my opinion, it can be seen very well a system which would unify all the companies or all the bodies of voluntary certification on the basis of National Institute on Standardization is necessary. And today we are trying to organize this work, and a little bit later it will be told about by Sergey. This is it with me today. With the practice existing, we have to find solutions for those people who had their quality certified in the systems enumerated before. So in the framework of our competences, we suggest the certification system for them, and now we work on extension of our competences in accreditation, and based on the things which are happening, those companies who are trying to fulfill all the conditions and the laws, well, they will have a chance to get the certification as well. Thank you, Sergey. Dear colleagues, if you have any questions related to this presentation, I believe that in the end of the session we will have time to answer the questions, and now we have to move forward. And we will follow the quality role.
We understand that it is not to be deceived by your own expectations. You suggest some production, and you want to get the production that of high quality.
Одним из самых действительно экспертов в роли качества у нас.
One of the best experts of quality is Chaika Ivan.
Пока Иван Иванович выходит, я буду.
I am giving the floor to him.
Вашего времени советник генерального директора ассоциации.
He is the
Регистр — это международно признанная компания, которая занимается сертификацией и является экспертной организацией.
He is the counselor of CEO of Russian Register Association, Academy of Quality Issues, Russian representative at ISOTC, candidate of Economic Sciences. It was founded in 1993.
Иван Иванович, пожалуйста, о роли качества.
Ivan Ivanovich, please, I give you the floor.
Так, дорогие друзья,
Dear guests,
большое спасибо за
thank you a lot for introducing me, and thank you to all organizers for inviting me.
удовольствие от общения.
I'm very pleased when I communicate with business partners, with specialists, and with those who study this quality.
Иван Иванович расскажет о том,
Ivan Ivanovich will tell you about what quality is, but I want to say that
и первый президент
but the first president of this company was the man who was in love with this quality.
его слова.
And his words, we are people of quality. We are the sons of quality. We should fight for this quality.
Если
If you look
стратегические документы, как бы
as strategic documents of our country,
являются, если обобщить,
you will see 5 areas of national interests. They are economic, social, ecological,
и международное.
international, and the area of army.
Вот в этих сферах мне так все правильно, да?
Could you please switch on my presentation? Yes.
Значит, в экономической сфере
Economic sphere. Let's talk about economic sphere. If
страна
the country
занять
wants to get a decent place, a leading place in the international economics,
нечего. И у нас стоит задача
we have the following goal.
суверенитета. Технологический суверенитет тоже как бы обеспечивается.
Technological sovereignty also is provided through quality, and I must tell you that there are different methods and ways, also including the state participation. In particular, this is the identification of priority industries, priority goods, and what is important here, there is in black, it is written the principle of locomotive. This principle is the principle which has been tested in the world, and as far as I know history, it's tested in Hungary. When what is this principle of locomotive? When a priority product has been selected and all the providing industries coming closer to the quality level of the priority product, and it's a huge shift, and you can use it, you may and must use it. Coming back, just dear friends, have a look. What task is set by the president? The development of non-raw materials, industries as compared to 2030. These are the industries which have to be promoted together with the quality. These are the industries which are focused on export areas, and the factors of compatibility on the world market may be different. As the European research shows, our national domestic research, American research shows the 70% of success is the quality indices. In the social sphere, dear friends, quality is in fact the quality of our life, the quality of my and your lives. It's not just the material side of the issue, that when we satisfy our life necessities, it's also moral category, because it educates the generation. Everyone has children, grandchildren, and a child or a grandchild who says, well, Russian is not good. I will buy something imported. It's a tragedy. It is a tragedy. It is a moral side of this issue. And we know that there is a pyramid of demands, the buying ability and the structure of the quality offered has to satisfy this pyramid, the structure of the payable demand. In the environmental area, I'm not going to talk much here, just one example. For instance, if you take Kamaz today, as a socially responsible organization, transfers its trucks to electric traction, not to, to cut the pollution. And we also need to widely use the accessible ecological technologies. You can go to our website. There is a structure. It's within the Ministry of Industry structure, Minprom, which assists, really assists how these technologies, available technologies may be implemented, and it's free of charge. Dear friends, the defense area here, commentaries are something extra, not necessary perhaps. The situation existing today shows us that the quality and technical advance of our military products guarantees our safety, security. And for the international area, international sphere, it's the authority of the country, the possibility of the country to participate in integrational unions. And today, I must say, the Eurasian integration, economic integration, provides some new possibilities, which are very serious, in order to get and to promote the quality and to make the quality products. Dear friends, those of you who perhaps follow this topic, you may know already that the countries Party of Eurasian community have received for certification the system of the products of the countries participants. It's a very important document. Today, the countries members have received this document, and I recommend you to get acquainted with it. This document is going to be confirmed or approved by the heads of governments, by presidents or heads of countries. So it's the highest level. And the concept laid in this document consists of fundamental grounds for our quality systems. It's the creation of Eurasian system of quality system. What is concept directed to? Here you can see the goals of this concept. This is provision of the necessary quality in accordance with the demands, increase of the quality and compatibility of the products. What I want to draw your attention to, well, you have not heard about this concept, and it's not a surprise because we are taking this Eurasian Committee as a regulator, a necessary regulator in a certain sphere, and it's a advantage is that they have come to the concept of the consumer quality and the concept of compatibility. And based on this concept, they are going to unite the member states for solution of these tasks.
Да что ж такое?
Doesn't work.
Так, дорогие друзья,
Dear friends, well, in the concept, the central place is taken by the company, and
сформулированы
it is formulated
задач
a lot of tasks
и мер,
and measures which have to be taken in order to form the infrastructure assisting the company in provision of achievement of a necessary quality. And here,
если вы бизнес,
if you are a business, you understand that you need professional personnel, you need some experts in the quality area, you need the quality of supplies, etc., etc. So in the concept, it is provided that there is the group of measures, the unity of measures, which would assist the company to produce the necessary quality.
ну вот,
Well, including
как бы центральное,
the central,
важным аспектом
the important aspect is the resultative system of management, of quality management within a company, and it provides, this concept provides for the development of consultancy networks and organizations. I currently, especially in my contacts with ROS accreditation, I can see a huge deficit of personnel and staff in the field of quality management. Today, the companies and the expert organizations, well, they feel this deficit. And this concept, well, pays a lot of attention to this thing. And for a company, formation of the quality systems, especially with attraction of qualified consultants. Certification is a very costly thing. That is why the concept suggests a government, the state, to find certain funds and regions to find certain funds and thus stimulate the quality. And this is a very well-known way, and those people who know a little bit the systems of quality management perhaps know that Margaret Thatcher, when she was leading Great Britain from depression, she made a task for the British quality management systems. She provided a lot of money for compensation of consultancies and certification. If a company would get a certificate on accomplishment of certain standards, then the British government compensated this. In Russia, we used to have such a movement in the time of the Soviet Union, and I personally was a participant of this movement in Moscow. In Moscow, this scheme was been adopted, but now it's the past, our past. And the key issue of the concept is the development of the market of true competition on the territory of the general markets of the country's participants. And I would emphasize these words. true competition. We can, invent perfect standards. We can do anything, but if there is no market of this true competition, everything is senseless. And nobody has yet canceled the capital laws formulated by Karl Marx. If business can see, if a business can see 300% of profit, it is prepared to break any law. And when it is not punishable, then why do we do all this work? And I suggest you now to go to the internet and put in Roscontrol. It's not here. I was just entered Roscontrol in my search engine, and they permanently publish some falsified products. The products with non-compliant quality. Today, for instance, if you read it, sour cream Простоквашино does not correspond to the word sour cream because it consists of stabilizer of structure. Semga meridian, salmon meridian does not correspond to the standard. Dear friends, you think they get 300% of profit? Well, they get huge money. I could bring here some pate, and I would ask the respected organization to bring over the laboratory so that we could demonstrate what we eat when we buy chicken pate. But without an opportunity to show you laboratory testing, I just get, as Vladimir Mayakovsky, the Russian poet, would say, I get out of my trousers the product I can show you. This bandage was bought by me before I started on the way here. So it says that it's valid for some 5 years ahead, and there is the quality sign. According to the law of standardization, the product must correspond to the requirements of this standard. But unfortunately, the legislators did not give the right of control to those standards. That is why this is a completely uncontrollable situation. I can show you this product. Dear friends, we have fishermen here. I believe that this bandage can be used as a fishing net. The day before yesterday, it was bought in Ashan. What is it? This is the producer, which is getting the super profits and is not actually ready to compete and be frank. Those who are fishing for bigger fish, you can see another product which was bought 1.5 years ago, and that one was bought only the day before yesterday. Dear friends, I am an emotion person. Please do not pay attention to my emotions. China. it's on purpose that I brought here the saying of Xi Jinping that the good management is when an unseen hand of the market manages the production. So the self-regulated mechanism should be also controlled by the state. And the concept also provides for here. You can. There are some measures in the concept on formation of the market of competition and finding out bad quality products, and perception. Sensitive measures should be sensitive. Tell me, please, isn't it funny? No, it isn't, because in the concept it is said that the measures should be super sensitive. Dear friends, also concerning we were speaking about the voluntary certification. What is taking place today in the voluntary certification is just a washing out of this most important market mechanism, the philosophy of certification. One has checked and everyone recognized. If you do not believe in certification, what do? You increase, you strengthen the incoming control, money. There are risks, statistic control. It also it is always related to the market, the money. And this is the mechanism which is washed out today. And unfortunately, today we have not a perfect legislation. I mean, the Federal Law 184, Article 21, which tells how this voluntary certification is to be organized. It is enough that someone in Rosstandard applies to Rosstandard and provides there some document on the rules of certification just for information to Rosstandard. And Rosstandard doesn't have any rights or functions to control this situation. That is why my suggestion to this concept is to introduce the changes into legislation. And this would be the legislation to help the regulation of these things. And I must say that these intentions are not the intentions of the past. I was personally involved in the preparation of the draft law for introduction of changes to this federal law 184. But on the final stage of discussion, it was stopped. The oligarchs stopped it because the oligarch systems like Gazprom and so on, they all have the systems of voluntary certification, and certainly they do not want to have anyone who would control them. That is why it was stopped, and anyway, we hope that through the concept of Eurasian system, we will be able to pass this law. So to finalize, for the business, today business looks eastwards. I am the representative of the Russian Register. We are under sanctions today, and we had the accreditations with EAF. We had the membership in IPNet, which is not operational anymore. But the Russian Register also has its representative offices in these Eastern and Asian countries, and through these representative offices, you can get the assistance to your businesses. Dear friends, maybe you have my presentation. I hope you will be able to get it. I finalize with my sermon about the quality. Please find this in your search engine, and you will find well, the statements I formed some 10 years ago. Just finalizing, I want to say, dear friends, believe into quality, serve to the quality. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear Mr. Chaikin. I am convinced that we all will look closely at your missionary on quality, and I'm convinced that Mr. Chaikin's business is understandable for anybody who values the quality today. And of course, we are waiting for any changes introduced to be Federal Law 187. Now, I would like to give the floor to Ekaterina Prishchepa. She is the head of quality, head of Center for Testing of Petrochemical Products, Crude Materials and Environment at UFA Orgsynthos. So, Ms. Prishchepova, feel free. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. How do I use this one? Okay, it works. I represent UFA Orgsynthos Public Joint Stock Company. It is a petrochemical institution in Bashkortostan. We have 3,500 people working. We release a wide range of chemical products, and I really appreciate being invited to this forum. I think that my presentation will differ from the presentations we heard before, because I'm going to tell about problems that enterprises are facing. My presentation is divided into several parts. The first part is the international standards. This year, we faced changes that touched a lot of areas of our life. We are learning how to live in the world which is not as friendly to us as it used to be. We rearrange supply chains. We can't lose quality, we can't lose competitiveness. These changes were introduced to the legal documents. First of all, international standards like ASTM were endangered. It is an American community for testing of materials, and the procedure of spreading these standards has been seized. Today, the license is impossible to buy in Russia so far. A lot of processes of production are based on or designed to be working according to a license. They lack these international standards. Of course, we are looking for Russian standards, but unfortunately in the chemical industry, we are lacking them. to enter the export market and to unify testing standards, we were trying to adopt international standards like ASTM, ISO, etc. We were purchasing imported testing laboratory equipment because you have to use it in case you want to have your products certified. Another issue is the customs clearance. Some manufacturers apply an annex to the quality data sheet in order to have a confirmation against the technical regulations for foreign trade. Now we see the increasing need for the international standards. Now we see a new risk for the technical regulations in 2022 for many enterprises. The access to ISO standards is fine because Russia is a full-scale member of this community. And ASTM are standards that Russia cannot influence, and these standards are updated very often. That's why our products can quickly go outdated. A lot of enterprises are supposed to get through re-accreditation this year. And accreditation is falling under 11 ASTM standards. In September, one of the standards will not be relevant anymore. Often, it's a reason for frustration when there is only one standard that outlines how a certain process should go. Russian manufacturers are struggling with this issue. Therefore, I am addressing to you, dear colleagues, dear managers, please take us into consideration. I know that metallurgic industry has the same issues as we do. It's important to introduce Russian standards that would be equivalent to the international ones. We are seeking for support from the federal authorities. We want the arising issues to be solved.
As I see that, standards version can be unactual, we can buy it, but we find how to buy it in English and English level, language. Can they afford that, to use it? How we can use it? Or if we translate it by our power, or can be legalized and work on that. A lot of our polypropylene on STM, it was based on our second cycle of my
посвящена техническим условиям. Я уже неоднократно, наверное, с этим вопросом тоже обращалась, но проблемы до сих пор не решены в том объеме, в котором бы хотелось.
Another issue that we are facing is the issue with technical regulations. In 2021, we already discussed them. UFARC Synthesis, as many companies who are very sensitive about their standards, keeps facing the issues I mentioned before. Let me remind you that according to the 162 federal law, the manufacturer should freely familiarize themselves with the technical requirements and the contract terms and conditions. And these documents should be accessible. So the supplier should be always aware of what kind of products they are supposed to produce. but sometimes we are rejected in our attempts to get access to the relevant documents. For example, we ended up with no testing results data in the plastic film datasheet. And there were no test methods that the customer can use to carry out the income inspection. Within a short term, we informed the customer of this information, and we, after that, claimed this requirement to be included into the standard. Also, the data sheet needs to list the chemicals used for testing and other details of the testing procedure. For example, if we use a microsyringe that conforms to these certain climatic conditions, there should be a description to that as well. But unfortunately, there is no legal framework for the description of this detail, and sometimes it's impossible to define who was the manufacturer of this kind of tools. It's a challenging quest to find the information about technical requirements to a certain material. And it shows that sometimes we have degraded, outdated, not detailed enough technical requirements. And I would like to refer to the idea that Mr. Chaikin shared. During the USSR period, the state was the one who was responsible for sustainable use of technical requirements. And the government, the state, were responsible for monitoring the crude material consumption and the fulfillment of such standards. As you can see, some things that would be considered old are actually quite relevant and progressive today. And this process can be arranged at local testing and metrology centers. Such center, for example, in the Republic of Bashkortostan, is capable of developing such standards and maintaining the compliance with them. Of course, it is difficult to update the technical requirements databases because it's important to create a catalog of authors. It's important to categorize them. And the developers should be obliged to enter these technical regulations, and otherwise they would get fined not like with 1,000 rubles, but with some significant fines, because enterprises should feel safe applying certain requirements and producing certain goods. The technical requirement registration procedure will help us improve the quality of the document and the overall standardization system. I can share my experience, the experience of my company. Ufauruk Synthes has developed and approved 33 technical requirement documents. And we can translate these documents over the products that we are manufacturing. In general, we are using 101 legal documents. Most of those documents are for our internal use. For example, when the pandemic fell, we developed hygienic norms by ourselves. Nearly every legal document was developed for the reason that there is no GOST standard. GOST standard for this kind of product, or there is no test, or there is no GOST for this kind of item. Let me give you an example. Our technical requirements are always either as strict as GOST or even more strict than GOST. So the technical requirement is not something that gives you more freedom than the GOST does. Sometimes our technical requirements are twice as strict as the GOST. For example, like for polypropylene. Sometimes technical requirements are needed either if there is no GOST or if the GOST requirements are too mild. Therefore, our companies, despite of certain difficulties, have to regularly develop their own legal framework, and they have to have this legal framework approved with the customers. In January last, we did a lot of work in order to introduce technical requirements for polypropylenes. We sent this document to 17 consumers, and we took into consideration all their wishes. Certain methods that we entered into the documents were borrowed by our customers as well. They are analyzing their products and crude materials according to these technical requirements because they want lower cost, they want shorter terms, they want more sustainable quality for their end products. And we actually managed to do this all only within 1 year. Of course, some of our clients opted and asked for some samples of products that would correspond to the mentioned above demands. To finalize, I would like to mention a cycle. I would like to speak about my wish to engage people into retraining and qualification enhancement. Sometimes people are doing their business, doing their job without a proper document that would confirm their qualification. Recently, we took part in a retraining course dedicated to the quality, sustainability, and quality management. We regularly apply to different institutions that provide educational services like that. Most of these services are online, and I think it's just the feature of modern age. I can say that an offline class is a lot more intense and a lot more effective than an online class because we have more personal interaction. Because, for example, we go to an offline accreditation class, we create a group chat, and we keep communicating after the accreditation is over. So I think it's a huge leap forward. Rosstandart, standardization service of Russian Federation, used to hold such classes, and we would like to have them back. We would like to have employees retrained. We want their qualification enhanced, and the Standardization and Metrology Center in the Republic of Bashkortostan. To wrap it up, UFARC Synthesis is an active participant of the developing process of standardization documents. You can congratulate us because 16337 GOST was adopted according to the initiative of UFARC Synthesis. We contacted polyethylene manufacturers, and 5 out of 6 manufacturers agreed to take part in the development process. It took us 5 years to develop this GOST and have it approved. We had troubles with certain clauses of GOST, and we had to prove our opinion why we should leave it like this. And also, we have this standard adopted by one company from Belarus. We believe that this initiative was very useful. This GOST was introduced as of April the 1st, and it was actually allowed to start using it even earlier. Our company is included into one technical committee. We have our representative registered with the relevant authority. We are working under standards relevant for the natural gas and chemical industry. I would like to mention that I would be very grateful if my speech will cause any movement. And I'm not done yet. I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate the State Regional Center for Standardization, Metrology and Testing, named after Muratshин. Today they have an anniversary. They are 120 years old. And our acting CEO has drawn a congratulation letter. Dear board, UFAORG Synthesis is congratulating the Republic of Bashkortostan Center for Testing of Petrochemical Products, Crude Materials and Environment, and we are celebrating your anniversary. We are happy to see that this foundation that was established 120 years ago, and I'm glad to see how the principles are still being maintained till today, and I'm happy to see that this center has been given the name of Mr. Muratshин. And I wish your center to be popular not only within the Republic of Bashkortostan, but also beyond. We consider you as a reliable business partner. We wish your center, named after Muratshин, to preserve and multiply the traditions of your center and ensure the uniformity of measurements. I want you to keep promoting the ideology of quality across the Republic and nation. Let me make sure that you know that we are by your side, on your side, and we will always support you in your mission. Thank you. Indeed, we are very close partners with the Center of Standardization and Metrology, named after Muratshин. They are our support, our shoulder to cry on. Thank you very much, Ms. Prishepova.
I will connect with congratulations. I want to say thank you to our section, because when we out of reglement, we have a lot of problems. We can't discharge them. Our organizations, Sergei Anatolyevich, gift us 15 minutes more. And dear colleagues, about problems which were named today, I want to show you how we can solve them. I can talk instead of standardization, our government, about HR problems. In the summer, head of HR was changed, and we work a lot together with him. I'm sure that in a half year, but we will see it in a close future. Academia was reform on new programs. that problem must be solved, and the result will be soon. What about 2084?
С Иваном Ивановичем мы тоже сегодня еще успели тоже два слова переговорить именно по 21 статье,
We
именно
talked
по системам.
about 22 states, about certification today.
Как раз для всех очевидно.
For all then it's ridiculous that certifications
Требуется также
we need to reload too, because
изменения в 21 статью на сегодняшний день
it
согласованы по плану
was
работы.
changed, and
До конца года должны
but till the end of the year we
Госдуму. То есть я очень надеюсь, что в ближайшее время мы тоже увидим уже наш основополагающий федеральный закон,
next time
который
see
упорядочит
the law,
приведет ее, станет более эффективной. И качество продукции будет
to get a new quality
должно быть. Ну и
which has to be.
хотел рассказать и хочу
And I want to tell you
про то,
about system,
сертификации одну из норм.
about certification statement.
Система является Российский институт
An
стандартизации.
operator is
Система
Institute
создана
of
еще в 2016 году. Прошла некий период эволюции, как раз и не так хорошо развивалась именно из-за того, что опиралась только на проверенные лаборатории Центров стандартизации и метрологии. Здесь не хватило компетенций. Сейчас
there's
мы
no competition, but now we change the rules, and after improvement, after agree that lab is quality, we get it in the system, and now it's next time it will be a serious support and for our common buyers who buy it in a store or who it.
Я не так давно покинул
And
пост
also often
ЦСМ Нижегородской области, и когда директора предприятия приходят и говорят, слушай, мне
when
сертификат привезли,
directors say that
посмотри, пожалуйста.
I got the certificate, can you tell me how can I trust it or not?
Купили вагон металла, а он не соответствует параметрам, и мало того, что брак, мало того, что срыв сроков, а еще и организация, которая испытывала.
Oftentimes, manufacturers buy crude materials. They get a certificate that accompanied that material, but it turns out the material actually didn't conform to the needed parameters. So, therefore, it's important to inform the national certification system that such an accident happened.
Понятно, что проблема в добровольном применении,
Clearly,
добровольном соответствии ГОСТу.
some GOST can be voluntarily followed, and therefore we have a voluntary certification.
Произошла. Потому что добровольное это до тех
Voluntary certification means that the state doesn't regulate this certification.
соблюдения.
For example, you are not going to be prosecuted for not having your product certified with this product.
В соответствии с требованием ГОСТа. Как только они договорились и закрепили это в договоре,
But if you don't have your product certified according to GOST with voluntary certification, you have to put it into your contract with your customer that you are supplying them the goods, not necessarily fulfilling the requirements of the GOST. Because otherwise it will be the violation of consumer rights.
не соответствует условиям договора.
Unless you stipulate this in the contract, the customer will have the right to sue you for violating their rights and for violating the
Как сегодня говорил Алексей Владимирович,
agreement conditions.
заказчики используют стандарты для того, чтобы
Customers use standards to draw technical requirements to the products, and somebody has to conform that this product actually conforms to the stated requirements.
любыми, какие только какие получается.
And a lot of enterprises are using certificate whatever they can get. Our initiative is to draw a list of certification authorities registered with the official national list. Such an initiative has been introduced, and I hope it will be considered. You are parents. You bring your kids to kindergartens and schools, and you know what kind of education you want them to get. You know what kind of food you want them to eat. The same thing applies to business. It's important to draw attention to the initiative of introducing the national uniform system of certified standardization authorities. Moreover, it should be an open list, which means that certain labs, if approved and admitted, should be able to enter this register. These laboratories should conform to the requirements of the national system. Therefore, enterprises will know to whom they should apply in order to get their QMS certificates, for example. We managed to gather the competences, the accreditations and certifications in order to help Bashkir Soda company have their products approved. If you pass this voluntary certification, you will see such a logo, and this logo means that the product has passed the test, and if a product bears such a symbol, it means that this product has been certified according to the national certification system. I have mentioned our website. It looks like this. Our system is working nationwide. And we can conform every certificate that we issue. If there is a test report, then the test has been carried out. If there is a test report, then the expert was at the testing lab. And we know that tested goods are expensive because there is no cheap quality. Our standardization institute works with the Russian Export Center. And the Russian Export Center had to come to us because they were working on the brand made in Russia. They are responsible for this brand, and they want to maintain that brand. They realize that if the product bears a stamp made in Russia, it's a high-quality product. And the Center for Standardization and Metrology is an army of Rosstandard. The network has 60 offices, and they can solve whatever challenge you face, not only in terms of materials control, but in other areas too. I guess that shortly we will unfold even more testing labs, including testing labs for light products, because this industry is developing. And when we have one company that is undergoing the certification, once they are done, we are expecting their followers. Two words more about technical requirements. We were speaking about standards, technical regulations, technical requirements. Well, the technical specifications or technical requirements should have requirements as strict as the GOST or more strict. But we know that sometimes technical regulations are established by companies for their own internal use, because they want to get the most profit out of that. So I guess that the first step to make is to introduce legal framework. The second is to keep this framework maintained. Dear colleagues, this is it. If you have any question to me or to other speakers, we are ready to answer them right now. Or if you have questions later, please feel free to give your feedback to the Russian Standardization Institute and to our office in the Republic of Bashkortostan. We know Ms. Prishepova. She is on her 24/7 watch, guarding the quality. At Ufa Orgsynthesis, Mr. Chaikin, who is a passionate advocate of quality. We all are ready to communicate, ready to answer your questions and find solutions for your issues. We value your feedback. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry for stretching this out. I just couldn't interrupt. Thank you.